Japan, 1945, an empire in defeat. Yet, even as the Japanese warlords surrender aboard the USS Missouri, an elite American intelligence unit known as TAI combs the Japanese countryside in search of secret weapons before they are destroyed. What TAI finds, had it been ready on time, could have helped Japan snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. A secret air force of jet and rocket planes, aircraft at the cutting edge of technology, ready to fly out of hundreds of hidden airfields for what would have been the decisive battle of the Pacific. A massive strike against an invasion of Japan itself. This is the story of those Japanese X-planes, a startling glimpse into the aircraft that could have turned defeat into victory. Late 1941. A Japanese whirlwind sweeps across the Pacific. Allied fighters and bombers are smashed from the sky. From Pearl Harbor to the Philippines, Allied planes are easily outclassed by superior Japanese aircraft. Shocked and bewildered, the Allies can hardly believe their own eyes.
They were used to watching videos of what was going on in China, and there were the biplane bombers and fighters with fixed landing gear.
Despite having received warnings from Colonel Claire Chennault in China that the Japanese had developed some very advanced aircraft, this seems to have been pigeonholed and totally overlooked.
It is a crushing blow to Western pride. Allied intelligence agencies have totally underestimated the Japanese ability to design modern warplanes. The Allies now find themselves facing an advanced air force years in the making and must scramble to catch up.
The American reaction to the superiority of Japanese aircraft was to try and find out how they worked. But of course they had no intelligence gathering capability in Tokyo, in the home islands. So General MacArthur sends out a famous order. He says, go into the jungles, find the crashed Japanese airplanes, put them back together, make them fly, see how they work. And that's what they did.
A secret hangar near Brisbane, Australia, is designated to store the planes. It is called Hangar 7. In charge is an Army captain from Nashville, Tennessee, Frank T. McCoy. It is called Hangar 7. In charge is an Army captain from Nashville, Tennessee, Frank T. McCoy.
I think he's one of the unsung heroes of World War II. He wasn't a flyer, he wasn't one of the generals, but in terms of saving Allied lives, his work in intelligence gathering about Japanese aircraft is one of the most important jobs of World War II.
McCoy's outfit is named Technical Air Intelligence. From its small beginnings in Hangar 7, it would grow to be one of the biggest Allied intelligence organizations with units spread across every theater of war.
It was really a grassroots thing and started from ground zero and developed into a major operation.
From the jungles of New Guinea, parts of wrecked Japanese planes were ferried back to Hangar 7. Often, parts from different downed planes were painstakingly combined to try and reproduce a flyable machine whose performance could be evaluated. For McCoy and his team, the task was particularly daunting. Almost nothing was known about the names and designations applied by the Japanese to their machines.
Pilots encountering airplanes in the air would report there were 6 Mitsubishis from 11 o'clock high, or there were Nakajimas coming from the south and all, and these really meant nothing to the people on the ground or the other pilots as to what kind of an airplane they were talking about. Is it a bomber, fighter, or a seaplane?
Frank McCoy and one of his junior officers, Francis Williams, came up with a brilliant scheme. for getting around the fact that the Japanese own names for planes were very complicated. They decided with a brainwave just to call Japanese fighters by Western boys' names and the bombers and the transports by girls' names.
The people who named these airplanes officially said that there was no connotation to any person, place, or thing. But that's not always true. Take, for instance, the Betty bomber. I found out in doing some research on this that it happened to be a friend of one of the sergeants who was involved in the intelligence section of naming airplanes. There was a nurse in Pennsylvania that he knew of as Betty. And since the Betty bomber had large blisters on the side, it called to mind the physique of this young nurse in Pennsylvania and consequently named the airplane Betty.
But in 1942, as the Allies were pushed back across the Pacific by the victorious Japanese forces, getting copies of downed Japanese planes was not easy. But in 1942, as the Allies were pushed back across the Pacific by the victorious Japanese forces, getting copies of downed Japanese planes was not easy.
The big problem became how long would it take? As the United States learned that the Japanese were willing to fight to the last man, that they did not surrender, that to take an island, we literally had to kill every Japanese on it.
Technical Air Intelligence, or TAI, began training crash intelligence officers to go into the jungle in the thick of combat to gather any scrap of information and equipment from downed enemy planes. It was one of the most dangerous intelligence missions of the war. Yet, despite this effort, the Allies still lacked reliable information on what these planes were and how they worked. But in mid-1942, Technical Air Intelligence had a stroke of luck. In July, a lone PBY reconnaissance flying boat was on patrol over the Aleutian Islands. Suddenly, through the damp air, the observer spotted a downed plane, and it was not American.
The best piece of intelligence the Allies could have is an actual aircraft of the type that we were fighting against.